Welcome to the Good Morning from the Chicken Coop podcast with Kim Johnson, your creative strategist and master mindset coach. Filled with inspiration, distinctions, perspectives, and possibilities, we help you to cultivate a mindset that leads you to create the best version of yourself you could ever imagine. Join Kim every morning from one of her favorite happy places, her chicken coop, along with all her chickens.
Hey, good morning, everybody from the Chicken Coop. So today we are talking about practice and starting over. I often will consider practice one of my favorite things to do. And I know a lot of people don't like to practice doing things, but for me, practice is kind of a sacred ritual. And you'll often hear me use this throughout these podcasts because things are certainly important to me. And to me, that practice is a very ritualistic thing. If you've ever seen the movie The Karate Kid, you understand and know the power of this. Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. And I will use that as an example because it's one of my favorite ones. Mr. Miyagi was so great about making Daniel over and over and over practice that wax on, wax off, because you don't know what else you're learning in the process of doing what you're doing. And I think that when you stop and you pause and you really think about the power of practice and recognizing the power in it, it's huge. Yet most of us don't do it. We want to be great at something immediately. We just want to be able to hit that point of mastery and be great at something instantaneous. And it just doesn't happen that way. You know, hundreds of years ago, people apprenticed and they worked really hard at whatever it was that they were doing. And they would go and work under someone for a very, very long time before they actually got to the point of saying, I'm a master, I can go out on my own. But our society has a different take on it, and we are so conditioned to try to be outstanding immediately. It's like, oh, I've got to know it, I've got to do it. I mean, I see it with my own kids, how I've got to be good at it immediately. And it's a bunch of hogwash. You don't. In fact, you don't want to be great at things immediately. You want to have to take the time to do it and have it work for you. As a building process, it's kind of like you get better, you learn more, you practice, you fail, you start over, you start over, you start over, you start over. And every single time that you take the time to do this, you gain insight, you gain awareness, you have those little pieces of the puzzle that nobody else has. And that's the difference on the scale of getting to mastery, well, the simple scale to think of is good, great, and outstanding. Now, there are obviously many levels of it, but those are three big chunks. And the difference between great and outstanding is small. Somebody's great at something, but the difference of outstanding is it's small. It's the difference that little tiny things that they do that make the difference. The leap between good and great is huge because when you start off, you don't know anything. And you have to be willing to practice. When I first started coaching, it was so overwhelming to try to understand how to get into somebody's head, how to remember all the steps of the process, how to be able to help them see different perspectives, put aside your own models of the world. The steps are so intense. And it was, obviously, I worked for Tony Robbins and I was in an environment that's intense. And I did that purposefully because if you're going to learn something, you go to the greatest place you can to learn it. And that was one of the greatest places to learn it. And being in a quote-unquote apprenticeship there was hard. It was really hard. The expectations were intense. Everything about that environment was intense. But I have zero regrets with that because I had to practice over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And even though, according to society, the number of hours I have in, which is over 30,000 hours, probably more closer to 35 at this point with the number of hours I coach in a week, you have 35,000 hours and you should be considered a master. I hate even saying that because I constantly learn. I'm constantly studying and pouring into it and seeing what else, how can I cross-pollinate between something else I'm learning and taking that over. My lessons from the chickens, becoming someone who can really be a quote unquote master gardener. And I went through a master gardener class, but I don't consider myself a master gardener. I'm always learning from other people. I'm always taking it in. I can put it on my resume that I am, but I put in a huge flower garden this year, and I just completely bombed 80% of it because I didn't think about certain aspects of the heat where I live, and not giving it enough water. I had that handled, but I didn't take into consideration the factors of heat and how certain plants do in that. So even though I have a designation of a master gardener, am I really a master? No, absolutely not. And for me personally, I love saying that I'm a constant, never-ending learner, and I want to practice, and I want to take on that level of saying, I can start over. And let me be very clear about this whole start over thing, tomorrow's another day. Yep, that's great. But guess what? There's another thing you can think. The next breath is a big place to start over. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. Take a deep breath, shake it off, and start over. If what you're doing isn't working, shake it off, because you have the ability to start over anytime you choose to. You just have to take the step of pausing and saying, nope, this is drawing the line in the sand, let's start over. And sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do for yourself, is to just say, okay, crumple up the paper, throw it in the trash, let's start over. Okay, my friends, that's it. That's all I have for you this morning, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.